5K Technical Services CEO Corey Kirkendoll joins us this week to talk about LogMeIn's new name, new BDR appliances from Unitrends, choosing an MSSP, and to pass the proverbial Peer of the Year torch to our 2022 winner in a special interview segment. It's ChannelPro Weekly, number 213, The Secret Decoder Ring. Hello and welcome to ChannelPro Weekly, episode number 213. My name is Matt Whitlock, technology editor, online director, and your host of this show for folks like you, the VARs, the MSPs, the IT integrators, the MSSPs, all of those things that do technology things with other businesses. That is you, if you didn't know. And if you didn't know that, well, maybe you need more coffee. Maybe you just need to listen to us a little bit more, and we will help define your work well-being. And who better to help me along the way than to get you knowing who you are? I sound like a therapist or something. I'm talking in circles. But that man is the executive editor here at ChannelPro Network, Rich Freeman.
Yeah, no, you mentioned sounding like a therapist. That's what sort of I was thinking myself. This is our new podcast, Finding Yourself with Matt and Rich.
Because you're good enough, smart enough, and doggone it, people like you. So a very old SNL reference right there from way back in the day. But Rich, it's great to see you. Great to have you join me this week. I don't sound like I'm congested this week. Isn't that nice? I finally am better.
That is nice. And as I understand it, it took a while. This is a recent accomplishment because we spoke on Monday and you were still kind of getting over it.
Still getting over it. I would say I'm 98.5% there. Like, I feel way better today than I did yesterday. So not that everybody needs to know my current state of health, but I'm doing pretty good this week. I'm pretty happy. And I'm also happy that we've got an awesome show lined up. And I'm going to tell you why. We've got an awesome guest host. We've got an awesome interview coming up. We're awarding the 2022 Peer of the Year Award this year. We're going to talk about that and interview them. Colleen Frye, managing editor here at ChannelPro, is going to join us. We've got stories we're going to talk about, including one about how to pick an MSSP. It's going to be an awesome show, Rich. It really, really is. But first, I do want to mention that we have our event season rolling right along. It's starting to come to fruition, and our first ChannelPro event is but a month or so away in April. Tell us about that. Or March.
Well, it's in March.
March, not April.
Yeah. So that is the first of 6 in-person regional events that we'll be doing in 2022. That one in particular takes place March 9th in Newark, New Jersey. But we're also going to be doing events in Chicago and in Dallas and Charlotte, North Carolina, Southern California, the Washington, D.C. area. So 6 in-person shows over the course of the year, and then 3 virtual ones as well that we can talk about at another time. But we are just a little bit over a month away from that March show, and I can tell you the gears are spinning behind the scenes at ChannelPro, getting everything in place for that show. Super excited about the lineup of content and speakers that we've got this year. We're going to be talking about hiring and retention, which is as big a concern for people out there as anything else happening right now. And we have a very fun way of kind of presenting that conversation. We're gonna do it sort of like a version of the old TV game show, The Dating Game. We have what we're calling the Security Slam. We're gonna have security experts come up and tell some real-world security stories from their experiences that will be instructive for folks in the audience. And just this week, I've spoken to 2 of the people who will be participating in that, and you just won't believe some of what they've been through. And so that'll be both interesting and entertaining, but also, like I said, instructive as well. Gosh, what else do we have? We have a session, a peer-to-peer session where some folks who have achieved success building and offering solutions on top of Microsoft Azure. We'll talk a little bit about what they're doing, because there are a lot of people who know they want to be doing more with Azure than they are right now. The question is how do you get started? So we've got some real world case studies to share. And we've got a phenomenal sort of hands-on learn by doing workshop that will be led by folks from JS Group, the Janet Shine's organization, about social media marketing. And so you will not just be lectured to about that, you'll get an opportunity to kind of play along, if you will, and learn some things that you can really take home and apply as soon as you get back to your desk. So tons of great stuff going on there. Still time to get in. Newark and beyond, and you can get the dates and the details and register and all that at events.channelpronetwork.com.
After hearing all of that, like, I'm already registered for the event because I'm going to be there, but I'm like trying to register myself. Like, how can you miss all of that stuff? It sounds absolutely amazing, and you don't want to miss it either if you're going to be in the Newark area, anywhere in the New York metro vicinity. I mean, it's all kind of connected over there. Go to channelproforum.com/Newark. That'll take you right to the registration page. And for those who are watching on YouTube, we're going to throw a graphic up with the QR code. Just scan it with your phone. Go and register. Use promo code CPVIP, and that'll get you in the door for nothing. You're going to learn a lot, and it's not going to cost you a thing. In fact, we're gonna have prizes and all other kind of stuff, incentives for coming. So definitely go and register and be there. And I bet we have someone here on the show who can tell us a little bit about our events and maybe even give them a plug. I'm not telling them that he has to. He can say that they're horrible, but I don't think he will. But we have an awesome guest host today. He's a 16-year entrepreneur in the business with 25 years of experience in the IT information and technology sector. He's currently the president and CEO of 5K Technical Services and the recipient of Channel Pro's 2021 Peer of the Year Award. Please welcome back to the show, Corey Kirkendoll. Welcome, Corey.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. It's been good. I've been in withdrawal. Seems like it's been a long time since we've seen each other, since last year's show. And yes, the shows are well worth it, right? They're awesome. They're filled with content. I tell everybody, you get what you want out of it by planning and making sure that you're paying attention, because you get a chance to meet people, get a chance to hang out, get a chance to look at vendors, get a chance to talk to other people who are either coming out of where you are, or been experiencing where you are. So it's just a lot of fun, and it's just awesome. And try to go to a city that you don't live in, nothing, with the pandemic going on, because then you get a chance to see other people that you don't get a chance to know, build some relationships, because you just never know when you're going to need somebody in that area or have to rely on them, or you're just a little bit skittish of having somebody in your backyard doing the same thing you're doing. Meet somebody in Newark. You ain't got to worry about that, and you just have that open conversation. But it's been awesome, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, fantastic. We have lots of networking opportunities galore. And of course, it's always a good chance to come and meet me and meet Mr. Rich Freeman as well, because we'll be present. Also be a good opportunity to meet our new community manager, Mr. Jeff O'Hare. Rich, why don't you tell people about Jeff?
Yeah. This is another really exciting recent development at Channel Pro. We have expanded our editorial team right at the beginning of the year. Jeff O'Hare joined us as both our director of event content and community manager. And so he will be the master of ceremonies at our events going forward. You're going to see a lot of him there, both at the in-person and the online events. And the community manager piece of his job is one of these things that we've wanted to do for as long as there's been a Channel Pro. I mean, Michael Siggins and I, in 2007, when we launched the magazine, it was like, wouldn't it be great if we could kind of build a community around the magazine and almost like a partner advisory board kind of a thing. It's just always been difficult to get the bandwidth, but we have added somebody who's going to be doing that in addition to other things. Great guy, tons of experience in the channel, used to do a whole bunch of stuff with CRN back in the day. And you will enjoy meeting him, I'm sure, everybody in our audience.
Absolutely. And you never know who else you're going to meet at our shows. You might even meet someone like Corey Kirkendoll, or might even meet Corey Kirkendoll himself. And if you were to meet him and he was going to tell you about himself, what would he say?
Ooh, man. What I would tell you, man, is you love technology, you love what you do, and love doing what you got to do with people. I mean, being an MSP is the right place to be, because you get a chance to do a little bit of everything and change people's lives, right? So continue to build those relationships and enjoy it. And I love giving back, right? Be that guy who is always available and ready to give good advice to you when you have a question, man. So that's who I am, and that's what I'm all about.
Awesome. And for those who may not have caught you on previous episodes or read about you as our Peer of the Year, tell us more about you specifically and what you do at 5K Technical Services.
Yeah, so I'm the head janitor. I clean up and do everything else. I take out trash, clean the toilets, you name it, man. That's what it's all about for me. They try to keep me away from everything else, but For me, man, it's really I enjoy football. I enjoy having fun. I enjoy, just training up and spending time with my people as well as the customers, and making things different, figuring out ways to always take advantage of technology, leverage technology in different, unique ways, in order to allow people to continue to grow their business and leverage technology and their security posture as their competitive advantage, because I truly believe it is. Truly believe it is. When you look at everything else, everybody has this and everybody has that. When you can really talk to how I am taking that extra effort, even though you probably don't have to, how I'm securing your network to ensure your data, to ensure what you need to get done, I mean, that just puts you at a whole different levels than your competitor would be. And I think you need to figure out a way to make sure that you're aligned with that. And that's what I enjoy.
So it's taken you, you ran this business for the full 16 years, or have you kind of grown and changed over the years?
Yeah, no, we've ran this business for the last 15, but, pivoted and brought in different things, right? So when we first started, we didn't really know what an MSP was. I mean, we just was a service provider, integrator, or somebody who does computer, kind of I got a guy kind of person, right? If I work with computer, yeah, I got a guy, call Corey or call somebody. And over time, we figured out, here's what we really want to do to help leverage technology is their competitive advantage, making sure that the small guys had just as much security and planning and posture, just like the bigger guys were, to really ensure that, we run this country is built off of small businesses. How do we ensure that they protect themselves and go forward and have the right technology and things in place? We've also dabbled in some things where we've ventured into some audio visual side. We've done some stuff with some IoT type of things as well. So eventually, we've matured and went into different markets and different technology spaces that were never on the place when we first started. I never would have thought we would be doing some of those type of deals, but evolve, always looking where to pivot and not reinventing the wheel. So we have a managed AV service, which is exactly like our MSP side from a technology, but we manage audio visual for churches and organizations who have AV and lighting equipment, right? So typically, there's no one there to do that. A lot of the guys come in, they install it, but nobody's there to support it. They always want to upgrade, right? Hey, I got this popping on the scissor. I can't figure out this mixer. They need somebody to call, and we're that guy. And the same thing as you see transitioning with all this IoT and cybersecurity kind of goes right along with each other, takes you back to the basics. IoT, we look at it as going back to the fundamentals, proper network segmentation and design, right, is where it's ultimately going to be, because it's kind of, security is way down on the other end. So the way you do it is you isolate. If you didn't design it right, you didn't isolate, you got the problem.
Yeah, Corey, I shot over an email last night. Hey, here's what we're going to be talking about on the show tomorrow and so on. And as I was kind of typing in your email address, it occurred to me, I think I've known you for coming up on 3.5 years. I remember exactly when we met. I don't know if you do, but we were both panelists on a webinar that Alvaka did, and I just remember they scheduled like a prep meeting, and Alex Hoff, Chief Product Officer over there, he's been on the podcast with us a few times. He was kind of asking the different panelists different questions to kind of get some sense for what they might want to talk about. And I just remember, every time he asked you a question and you said, here's how we do it at my company, I thought, man, that's smart. And it's like, what's this guy's name again? I'm writing, because I gotta follow up with him. But it occurred to me last night, after all this time, I don't know why 5K is 5K. What does the 5K in your company name signify?
Yeah, so, when I was back in doing my MBA and doing it, I always wanted, to have something goes out. So when some people see it, they're like, oh, 5K must be $5,000 or something, or he runs, right? I'm like, nope. It's really my family. It's me, my wife, and my 3 kids, the 5 Kirkendalls. That's where 5K comes from.
I like it.
Oh, clever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of got broken in about 5 years ago when my son had a granddaughter. She's like, "What about me, Papa?" I was like, "Well, okay, one day we'll name it 5.5K and 6K or something." but right now we're just gonna keep it at 5K and keep it moving, right? It's the legacy that's going down there, right? So
yeah, there's a lot of paperwork
involved
involved if you're going to change your business name every time a new Kirkendoll appears.
Exactly. And the other piece that came out from a 5K perspective in my marketing side and thinking about it is that if you align everything up, there's not much that's going to show up above us except for 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 or a symbol, right? So that's what puts you up there. So it was a thought that I needed to start with a number, because if I'm going down, I'm looking at the list of MSPs and we're doing the right thing. If you're A, I'm still above you, right? So it really came down to that thought, but it really was a symbol for the legacy of my family, that they sacrificed for us to do what we do. And it was an opportunity to show that, we thank you for that and want to make sure that you're part. And that story goes on because people want to hear that. And they love it because it signifies exactly what it's supposed to do. He's the guy who has culture. He wants his family building a legacy, and he staked everything on it. And it's all about they sacrificed for us to do this and know that we have to do this, because it was big to walk away from corporate America and say, guess what? I'm going to start this technology, something else, the other, and go out there. What is it called? I don't know. It's kind of a bar, an IV, don't really know. Well, do we have to change our lifestyles or stop doing certain things? Well, maybe, I don't know. And so far, it's been really good. They still love me. They haven't put me out the pasture yet, so I'm okay.
Exciting and scary, no doubt about it. And very smart, too, to pick a number. As somebody with the last name of W, I was always at the bottom of the list in school. Always the last. So very, very smart stuff, as well as other things that you do in your business. You're a very smart guy, and you've done a lot of amazing things. And we've got lots of stuff on the site that about you that people can go and read and learn more about your story. And of course, we'll learn a little bit more about you as we go through the show here. And people can always go back and check out some past episodes we've been on. So always awesome to have you here. We've got like I said earlier, we've got a great show ahead. We're going to talk about some news from LogMeIn and Unitrends. We're going to talk about that story about choosing an MSSP. We're going to break for an interview with and learn and meet the 2022 Peer of the Year Award winner. I guess you'll have to stick around to find out who that is. And lots of other stuff to come. So it's going to be a great show. Let's go ahead and dive in. Rich, LogMeIn is in the news. Well, I guess it's not LogMeIn anymore. What are they?
Yeah, there's a lot of news actually from LogMeIn this week that all got announced on the same day. And yeah, the first thing they announced is we're no longer LogMeIn. We are now GoTo. Really, really interesting. And that is, it's not just adopting a new name. They position it, and I think rightly so, as a complete sort of relaunch of the company. I'll be curious to get Corey's input on this. And as some context here, LogMeIn is very, very familiar to folks in our audience here, principally for the remote access solution that they offer. And again, Corey can correct me if I'm wrong. Huge generalization here, but I think it's kind of fair to say that a lot of channel pros out there very much respect the tool. A lot of them use the tool. A lot of them are not maybe as enamored of LogMeIn as a company because they are perceived as not being as sort of channel focused as some companies are out there. And a big part of what's going on in the story here is, according to the company now named GoTo, that is going to change. That is certainly what, is part of the strategy here. So what they did is announce a new name. They are now GoTo. They announced a brand new partner program called the GoTo Partner Network. We'll get into that in a minute. And then they introduced a new remote access tool that essentially replaces the traditional LogMeIn tool, and that is called GoTo Resolve. So why is LogMeIn called GoTo? Well, in 2016, LogMeIn acquired the GoTo product line, GoTo Meeting, GoTo My PC, GoTo Connect, from Citrix. They have owned the GoTo products ever since then. They've been sort of operating those businesses under the original GoTo name while doing the remote access business under the LogMeIn name. And they have decided to kind of standardize around that one GoTo brand. But what they're also doing is kind of weaving those GoTo products, and principally the one that they call GoTo Connect, which is a cloud phone service, like a VoIP service. It also includes GoTo Meeting, the video conferencing service. And so they are kind of weaving GoTo Connect and this new remote access tool called GoTo Resolve into sort of an integrated suite of products. And part of the thinking behind that is, on the GoTo Resolve side, obviously they're going to be competing with a lot of companies out there that have remote access tools, from ConnectWise and Datto to TeamViewer. There are a lot of companies out there they already compete with in that area, and there are also obviously a ton of unified communications vendors out there. But the folks at GoTo would tell you that there really isn't anybody who specializes in both of those things in an integrated way, the way that they do now and will do to an increasing degree. And so they kind of see that as their competitive differentiator going forward. I mentioned the GoTo Partner Network. They, and by the admission of Patrick McHugh, who is their head of global channel, only joined the company 4 months or so ago, by the way. They didn't really have a head of global channel until quite recently, when they kind of decided we're going to get serious about the channel. And by his own admission, this company, GoTo, just hasn't been very serious about the IT channel in the past. And he, the way he described it is their, up until now, their channel building strategy or approach has been sort of based on the sprinkler system, meaning like, you know what that feeling when the sprinkler in the backyard suddenly hits you in the face by surprise and gets your attention. It's like every now and again, some partner raises his hand and says, I'd like to partner with you. And it's like, oh, okay, fine. But they weren't really kind of focused on it. So they have a reseller channel, mostly in the telco world. But they don't really have a lot of IT providers in their channel, and they're looking to change that. Towards the middle of this year in particular, you will see them come out with a track for the GoTo Partner Network specifically aimed at MSPs, and there will be pricing and benefits and so on oriented to that MSP market. And just as a little context here, so I mentioned that LogMeIn bought the GoTo product line from Citrix in 2016. In 2019, I guess officially in 2020, the company then known as LogMeIn was acquired by 2 private equity firms, Francisco Partners and Evergreen Coast Capital. And Francisco in particular, has a very channel-focused kind of approach to building the companies that it holds. They own SonicWall, they own WatchGuard, some other stakes in some other companies, and it was really their idea to take a company with some brand equity around its products, but without deep ties in the channel, and change that. And so they hired Patrick McHugh, who I mentioned, to drive this channel strategy. Very early this year, they hired a new CEO. And they are completely transforming the way this company goes to market, and they're getting serious about partners. Last thing I'll mention, just a little bit more about GoTo Resolve. So first of all, it replaces the LogMeIn product, but over time you're going to see it replace GoToMyPC and another GoTo product called Rescue. Today, those are still separately available products, but they want all of that stuff to eventually roll into GoTo Resolve, and GoTo Resolve to be their one. And really not, I keep calling it a remote access tool. They are positioning this as an RMM tool, and even an RMM tool with PSA functionality. The GoTo Resolve has ticketing, and they highlight the fact that it has what they call conversational ticketing, meaning that you can utilize chat tools in Teams and systems like that to create and manage tickets. It's got a camera sharing feature, so especially in the COVID era here, if the customer is dealing with an issue, you don't want to send somebody out to the office or to somebody's work from home environment. They can kind of share what they're seeing on their camera with you through the tool. There's some zero trust functionality in there to protect against security incidents, which we know RMM tools are a big target these days. So it's actually quite different from the product, the kind of functionality that you might associate with LogMeIn in the past. There is a free edition of it with limited functionality available now, and then the paid plans start at $79 a month. But that product is available now. So I mean, just a ton of stuff to talk about there from the company now known as GoTo.
Yeah, wow. I'll start. First, they're really lucky that they own the GoTo Meeting brand line of products, because it's really, really difficult to sue yourself for trademark violations. So kudos to them for not having to go down that rabbit hole. But man, I got to tell you, Corey, and you're probably in my boat, man. I'm kind of sad to see some of these names go away. Like I used LogMeIn years and years and years ago, and go to my PC. I remember all these, and have kind of used them myself for various things over the years, and it's kind of sad. You know, it makes you feel old. Oh, I think you're muted.
Yeah, it totally does, man. It feels like it's like not having Toys R Us and Payless and some of those other guys out there, right? So it's happening in our industry. But we know we'll continue to see this consolidation going, and we'll see as our industry was started to get hit with private investors and those guys, we can definitely start to see this happening a lot more because it just makes sense to go in the path. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. I can definitely tell that they've been paying attention to the market, because I can tell a competitor right off the bat that they're lining up right to go toe-to-toe with, which makes sense. But what I love about the whole platform thing is the go-to-resolve is that it lets us understand that we're living in a rapid response kind of an industry, right? That I need to be able to go to a meeting, to be able to take control, to be able to do things immediately. And I don't need to go from one platform to another platform and another platform. If I could go to one place and can spin off any one of those to one, collect the right evidence, to log, to monitor, and to record and do certain things, I have a virtual war room at my disposal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is pretty awesome, right? I can invite my customers, I can invite my partners, I can invite my other employees. So I think this is great. And what I love is they decided to enter the channel by hiring a channel manager to do it right. And they're acknowledging that, one, we don't do this well, so we know we got work to do. And obviously they came to the right place. They got Rich already on board to say he's going to hold them accountable, because we know we are going to hold them accountable if they come to ChannelPro to get that done right and go down the path, which is really, 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 really cool. So I hopefully we see some of the great stuff that LogMeIn had, and see some of the great stuff that GoTo XXX had, and see it come together with this GoTo Resolve and all the other things come out. I'm excited to see what happens.
I'm also excited to see where they go. I know a lot of people in the channel, a lot of MSPs kind of avoided them because they didn't really have a great story or set for MSPs. But LogMeIn burned some bridges, if I remember correctly, a while back, especially around the LogMeIn tool. And I can't remember off the top of my head what that was, but there was some. Was it because they got rid of the free version or something like that? Corey, do you remember?
Yeah. They took away the free version and made it very difficult to get a hold of. They did have some partnership with some of our other tools that that kind of left you out. If you had a contract with one and you bought something somewhere else, it was very difficult to put them together. And I think the hardest part is that because they were not MSP friendly, they only wanted to talk to the end customer. And the challenge is that in most cases, the end customer didn't want to talk to them because they had us as an MSP. So it was a finger pointing thing all the time. So I just hope as they come into the channel, they really spend some time with us and understand how we work, what we work. I can always tell by their pricing and how they're starting to lay it out. It's going to be very enticing to MSPs because it gives an opportunity to try and buy, to go through and do things, and to scale up in the approach that they're doing. And I always tell people who are taking it, if I can see their pricing model and I don't need the secret decoder ring that I got to get out of a Cracker Jack box to figure out what it is, it's very simple, makes sense, right? And it's not free and you get to download the product. It's free when I looked at it, I mean, it has just about every feature that the paid feature has with just limited number of sessions, but you could do pretty much anything and everything you wanted with it, which was pretty cool. So you get to pretty much kick the tires and run through it. And it's well worth the time and effort to go through it. So like I said, I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, but then you don't get to eat Cracker Jacks though. Right? And if you're hungry and you want...
COVID. Yeah, I'm with you.
It's one of those things you get out the secret decoder ring and then you decode it and it says better use your LogMeIn or something like that.
That's it.
That's
Actually,
awesome
it's go to resolve now. Go to resolve.
Yeah, we're no longer LogMeIn. So the tools themselves, are they? You said that they're stacking up to look competitive with other things, so that's cool. Rich, did they talk about pricing in here, or what they're planning on doing with their program?
The only place where, at least in my conversation with them, where it got into pricing was actually, it wasn't even in that conversation. It was in the press release they issued, that they said it would, the paid editions would start, for Go to Resolve, would start at $79 a month. I assume, without knowing, that there will be price breaks for people who buy both Go to Resolved and Go to Connect. They are really trying to position that, like Corey was saying, as a platform, a suite of integrated products. And so I assume they will do some things to make it attractive for you to go with both of those.
And I haven't used the LogMeIn product in ages, and I know they're kind of setting themselves up to compete with the platforms, the ConnectWises, the Kaseya's, those kinds of things. Are their tools as robust, if you will, or are they a little less robust?
No, they are. I mean, listening to what Rich laid out and what I've been able to take a look at they're coming out at least on the same playing field and feature, parity, almost identical, with a little bit of here and there that they've already done with. I think the advantage is going to be is the Kaseya's, the ConnectWises, and Datos. They already have integration into the RMM products, and those kind of deals is where that next piece. So I believe that they're going to have to get pretty quick to become integrated into the ConnectWises, the Datos, and those guys, so that's the one piece that's kind of above. We don't want to do what we call swivel chair. We're here for one thing. I should be able to launch this product straight out of my RMM, no matter what it is, right? I should be able to launch this thing and do something right out of my PSA, no matter what it is. So I think that's where they're going to spend a lot of things, because when you come to the channel, that also means that you have integrated with best of class in the channel as well. So that's going to be a challenge for them that I think they're going to have to come up, because I know LogMeIn has broke a lot of those relationships coming back, and a lot of the people, because they have those tools, they chose not to continue on down that relationship. So they got to go back and re-up and make it well worthwhile for the MSPs who leverage those products, who choose not to go with their product as an option.
Well, I guess that's the last question, Corey. I mean, you've been an MSP a long time, and there's a lot of MSPs out there that are already on existing tool sets. Do you think that they're going to be able to sway people coming over, or is this a play to go after any new MSPs that enter the market?
Yeah, I believe that a lot of the products who have come on are all of them what we call bolt-on, right? None of the competitors, none of the people out there built it from scratch, right? So they're put in. So I think they have a great opportunity. It's really going to come down to how they shine, how they price, and ultimately now what you're starting to see is how they secure and improve security. Because by having this type of product and having the ability to remotely access, or what we call always on, kind of available kind of a situation, then if they don't secure it well, then that means I've left this gaping hole door right into my customer that's always on, and I can just click and go do what I want to get done, right? So I think having it from a security perspective, integration to where it needs to go, they're going to pick up a lot of the new MSPs. They're going to pick up a lot of the customers who have leveraged the GoTo brand as well as the old LogMeIn brand, because they're going to be looking for similarity, because there was things very specific in those products that they enjoyed and that they liked, and hopefully they pick those out and listen to those and don't kill all those out, because that's probably why a lot of people will come that way. So a lot of them are new, and I believe they will have ability, depending on how they price and how they integrate, to convert some of what we call us old heads.
Well, I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see how it pans out. But I know they said they're going to have they're going to be revealing a lot more about that partner program as time goes forward. So I'm sure Rich will be keeping an eye on that for us and filling us in on anything interesting that you want to know. So make sure, folks, you stay glued to channelpronetwork.com for when those stories hit. And of course, subscribe to ChannelPro Weekly everywhere podcasts are, or subscribe on YouTube, and then you can see our bright smiley faces as we tell you what's going on. And you want to do that, trust me. Oh, and if you do that, leave a comment for us, hit the like button. That goes a long way and helps us. And of course, tell friends about us. That's also good. You got coworkers, you got colleagues, you got other people that you know. Tell them about us, please, for Corey's sake. I don't know why that affects Corey, but Do it for Corey. Do it. Don't do it for us. Do it for Corey. Moving on to our next story, Unitrends is in the news. They've got some BDR appliances aimed for small offices. These look nice. Rich, tell us about them.
Yeah, and this kind of fills a gap really in the appliance product line from Unitrends. This is apparently something that Unitrends partners have been asking for a long time. So Unitrends is a division of Kaseya, their BDR business, and it's really what got Kaseya into appliance-based BDR. And they had at that time a set of appliances they call their Recovery Series. Sometime later, they introduced the Recovery Series Max product line, which was really kind of specifically aimed at MSPs in terms of the capacity and the multi-tenant functionality and so on. But all of those appliances were really rack mount systems. There really wasn't anything that was appropriate for a small office. And in a small office environment, you don't necessarily have a server closet, you don't have a rack. If it's going to be sitting around in the office somewhere, you don't want fan noise driving people crazy all day. So there's a particular art to designing a small office BDR appliance. And up until this week, they really didn't have something like that at Unitrends. They do now. It's really like two very closely related product families. One's called Ion, the other one's called Ion Plus. The Ion devices, just think about roughly about like an Apple TV device, something about that size. That's what these Ion devices are. Solid state, no fan, very quiet. Ion Plus is more of a tower form factor, but also pretty compact and very quiet. It's suitable for use in any kind of small office. The Unitrends folks kind of liken these systems to the Alto and the Cirrus 4, which are very popular appliances from Datto. And from a Kaseya standpoint, this now gives them something to offer up to compete with those products. But that's kind of the market opportunity that they see themselves now putting within reach of themselves and their MSPs. I mean, we can get into the specs a little bit here. The Ion devices come with either 1 or 2 terabytes of NVMe solid state capacity. The Ion Plus devices are 1, 2, 4, or 8 terabyte. Also, again, NVMe flash storage. From a sort of performance horsepower standpoint, the assumption with the Ion devices is that you will be recovering to some other physical or virtual server. You can actually recover to the Ion Plus devices. They're potent enough to handle that. Interestingly enough, so I mean, in terms of functionality and in terms of pricing, very little difference between the Ion devices and the Recovery Series devices. The big change there isn't meant to be that this is some sort of entry-level system with less functionality at a lower price. The idea is just the form factor is going to help you put an appliance into more environments. The Ion Plus devices, which from a functionality standpoint correspond more to the Recovery Series Max, those will be priced a little bit less than the Max devices because the Max products have some performance IOPS advantages that you won't necessarily get in the Ion Plus, but that's not really the motivation behind creating these products. Again, it's the size and the quiet of them that had the folks at Unitrends really focused on doing this. I'll get in. They also announced Unitrends announced a new sort of security-focused partner program on the same day. It's called the Cyber Assurance Program. Basically, they've been producing all sorts of security-focused content over there for a while. They've kind of rounded that up, centralized access to it, but then also thrown in, this is a paid subscription. Pricing as of this week wasn't available. They at least didn't tell me the exact price. They said it'll probably be a few $100, but it includes a VIP pass, one VIP pass to Kaseya's Connect IT event. It includes a free subscription to Helix, which is their error monitoring and remediation tool for backups. You get some free onboarding advice, access to like quarterly technical account reviews. So there are some services in addition to the content. But last thing I'll say before moving on here is back to the appliances, because I got a chance to speak with Joe Noonan, who runs Unitrends for Kaseya, and I asked, given the size here and the fact that you've got so many people working from home, is this potentially a work from home BDR solution? And he kind of grinned a little bit and he said, boy, everybody keeps asking me that. But I mean, from their perspective, the answer is not really. I mean, if you want to do it, they're happy to have you do that, but they really are thinking of this as an office workplace kind of solution. They have another product called Unitrends Endpoint Backup, which is 100% cloud-based, and they really kind of position that as the correct answer, the best answer for the work from home workforce out there. This is specifically for the small office.
Yeah, interesting. The micro one the Ion looks a lot like a NUC. I mean, that's what I would guess that it's built
right
on. And then the I don't know what the desktops are, but they look, these are, I see why they're going for an office solution, because these are you said it can run workloads in recovery, right? So you can actually boot the image on this directly. Is that how I'm reading this?
With the bigger, with the Ion Plus, the tower form factor.
Okay, so the Ion is backup and recovery only. It doesn't actually do any of the workload stuff. So I guess you could make an argument that it could be a good a home. You could deploy it at home. I guess it's small enough. But the capacity on that's not. I mean, I guess 2 terabytes is a lot for some people, because it really depends on what you do and how many machines. Is there like a limit to the number of machines you can back up to this, or is it really just based on the capacity of the unit?
I think the latter. They did send me a spec sheet. I don't remember them including any kind of user limit in it.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, Corey, I mean, you've done BDR for a long time. Isn't it nice how easy it is? Like, they have like custom little tiny built solutions for small offices now, and those did not exist like 10 years ago.
No, I mean, the cool part about that is that, when you start to integrate backup and having that conversation, if the only thing you have is to go in there and have that one size fits all and try to throw a 8 terabyte storage unit in there, it just becomes a hard conversation to have for that. Eventually they will grow, but a small business is not going to have 8 terabytes of data to go do that, right? And they're not ready to have that BCDR. So what this allows you to have is to have backup disaster recovery at a good price point to where you can almost incorporate it across the board. So there should be no reason why any of your customers don't have some sort of backup or some cover recorded option, right? That's what's awesome about this. Before, that was not the case. You was kind of hodgepodging it, home making it, trying to make it, and hopefully get through it. And that's what's been really cool about that, to be able to have that lower price point that you can literally bolt it on to any one of your customers as part of it. Because I think backup is not optional anymore. It's pretty much mandatory, because at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, the last option and the only thing you have is backup to recover from, right? And so what we see is very similar to, where they're coming from with the small boxes. Backup, do everything you want, full image, things from that perspective, and recover back either directly to the cloud, right? Which forces you to have some good conversations with your customers, is that, hey, I'm backing you up and I'm doing everything with you, but hey, when we have to recover or have to run in a recovery instance, it may be a little slow, but it's going to be on the cloud. So now you'll have those conversations that it makes you have those conversations to get to the next box, because we always want to go to what we call that 3-2-1 backup, right? Have the docket, have live copy you're working on, one that's on site, and then one is in the cloud, right? You have some of this model, but you want to put that into your recovery model as well, is to be able to recover quickly on site, as well as being able to do it on the cloud as well. So it forces you to keep having those conversations, and eventually you'll get to the pluses and above.
Yeah. Now have you worked with Unitrends backups? Are they as easy to set up as, say, like the similar data models? Because I know that's one of the things people love about the data ones is they're super, super simple.
Yep. I mean, very, very easy to set up, man. It's almost, you download the agent, put it on, point it to the box, and tell it what you want it to go, and away it goes. In most cases, it wants to just consume all the data from that one server. And in most cases, and I remember from their spec sheet, is you don't have a limitation as far as I can only have one box, But I think as you start getting on the Plus, it makes sense that it'll probably be licensed per server when I get on the bigger boxes, because I need to be able to snapshot and not have, I can't have 12 servers on one. It just, at that point it becomes like it costs because they're probably bundling in the cloud storage with it as well, right? And that's the piece where you'll see. But ease, that's what's up. But it's great to have this option, another option out there that can allow you to do a backup piece. It is a necessary evil in what we do today.
That it is. Now, they didn't talk about pricing, Rich. Did they give any kind of hint on what these run or what the licensing is?
No. Well, yeah. You want the honest answer to that? I did get some very broad information, but they said, please don't talk about it, in the article on the podcast, because they don't want to put the MSP in an awkward position where the end user maybe becomes aware of what the MSP is paying. And so we're not talking about that. But again, if you are a Unitrends partner, you can kind of answer that question for yourself, because the Ion devices are going to price out a lot like the Recovery Series devices. The Ion Plus will be similar to Recovery Max, but a little bit less.
Okay, it's a silly question. Is the storage on these expandable? So if you roll out the 2 terabyte one and you need to add more storage, can you do that yourself, or do you have to replace the unit?
I don't recall.
I don't know about these. I know on their competitors that it's a no. You buy that size and that's pretty much where it is.
Okay, so it sounds like this might probably be the same way. So very cool. Well, they look nice. And we there's a lot more in this article about them, so we'll put that link in the show notes page for 213. So if you want to open up your phone in the description area, usually you'll see the links in there. If not, go to channelpronetwork.com and we'll have them all there for you. If you're watching on YouTube, hello, hit the like button, leave a comment, and open up the description area. You'll find all those links there as well. So we got one other story we're going to talk about, Rich, because that kind of wraps up the news, and that's a story that's called 8 Tips for Choosing an MSSP. Now, the title is deceiving because we're actually going to be talking about 8 different ways to make a cherry cobbler, which is really, really interesting that we would choose that title for such an article. No, it actually is about choosing an MSSP. Rich, where did this article come from? How did it come to be?
Well, this is actually a contributed piece. This came to us from a gentleman named Francisco Donoso, who is the director of global security strategy at a security vendor called Kudelski Security. And he kind of pitched us on something about selection criteria for an MSSP, and we thought that's a great topic, a very relevant topic right now. And so I'll tell you that 8 tips he went through. I won't go through all of them. I'll just kind of highlight 2 or 3 of them maybe. But I honestly put it on the agenda for this episode to get input from Corey on this and just kind of hear his thoughts about how, because it's all about security these days, and you've really got to make sure that you're working with the right vendors, whether that's an MSSP or beyond, a different, any security vendor. I'll be curious to kind of get his thoughts. But a few of the things that the author of this piece highlighted, think a little bit about your core objectives going in. How big a deal is compliance for you and your customers? Because people who are really strong at one might not be really strong at the other, or really strong at both. So what's that requirement list that you're taking into the search process that you really want to be focused on? Negotiate scope and pricing of the contract. And one of the interesting things to me in reading this that I wasn't as aware of is how flexible at least some MSSPs can be about that. And the author of this piece was saying, maybe the price you get quoted is more than you're really comfortable paying. Well, you might actually be able to eliminate some of the lower priority elements of the service. Like, maybe you don't need the identity and access management service that they provide. It's really the log analysis and the incident response that you care about. Don't be deterred by the sticker price. Feel free to negotiate with these people, because some of them will do that. One piece of advice that I thought was really good and kind of interesting is to really scrutinize the SLAs. And the way he put it is look for meaningful SLAs. And what he meant by that is, for example, if they tell you that, we commit to having X number of dedicated resources to your account, it's a little bit like, who cares if they're, what they're doing, what those 6 resources are doing isn't actually getting the job done. That's not, the thing you should care about in an SLA. So what is in the SLA? And here, this is a real world example, apparently from an MSSP's SLA. Needless to say, he did not name them, but he has come across an MSSP's SLA, it's a lot of letters, that said, quote, critical alerts must be triaged within 5 minutes and low criticality alerts within 6 hours. How do you know if it's critical or not if you haven't triaged it? So yeah, I mean, read the SLAs carefully, really understand what it is that they're promising to do, and make sure that that's going to meet your needs before you sign anything. But like I said, a lot of good advice in this article. It's a good read, and we'll have a link to it in the show notes. I'm kind of curious, Corey, what advice would you maybe provide to people about evaluating an MSSP or other security vendors?
Yeah, so I think it starts within, right? And if you're an MSP, you got to figure out where up the security stack you go and where do you need that partner. So I think there's a lot of investigation here. I live by the firm head that an MSP, a person who's doing help desk support, cannot be my MSSP engineer, because their thought process is very, very different. So my support guy is there to get you back up and running and working really quickly. The security guy is saying, I don't care if it's a problem, I got to investigate, collect evidence, and figure out what it is. And you're probably going to be down a long time, right? Very different process. And I don't want my security guy to be like, okay, no problem, change it, reboot, restore, like my support guy would be. So you got to figure out where that looks. You also got to understand the MSSP's business model, right? Are they an MSP too? Right? And some of them don't want to be an MSP. Some of them strictly want to be on the security side. They're there to help you and engage their business. But if they are an MSP, make sure, again, look at the contracts and make sure that there's a clear line of delineation from that perspective. Because if I was a customer and I'm bringing in a third-party MSP that talks about their MSP skills, most people want, we know, one throat to choke. Why do they have us, right? Starts contention and conversations that you really don't want to be in when they start customers if you're the trusted advisor. Right. Also, you cannot audit and do yourself. Right. The fox cannot watch the hen house. So one of the situations in there comes compliance situations where you cannot be in that role. So therefore, you need a partner that is external, that is independent. And note this, that the MSSP may have a contract directly to your customer to make sure that you're not in the middle, because they cannot be non-biased if you wrote the contract and the paper and introduced it into that, right? They literally got to have their own pace in. That means you also have to trust them and have a good relationship, that you're on the same page and you're always going to be talking and walking the same walk. But in some cases, they may have a direct relationship and a direct contract to do these services. And that MSSP may not always be your friend, because they may uncover some things that do it, but hopefully I have a relationship that understands that it got to go where it goes. Because if you're not at a place, they may tell you some stuff that you don't want to hear. Everybody else tells you, oh my gosh, your baby is so handsome. The MSSP may say, you know what, your baby is cute, but his head is gigantic, right? You need to figure out, don't let him go outside without the turtleneck or something, right? You got to have that relationship. So I think you got to have open conversations. You got to trust. And you also always got to be open and have that clear line of delineation of what they're doing, what their business model. And I believe the SLA piece is critical, right? Make it have some teeth, right? Make it understand what it looks like, because at the end of the day, if something breaks off or something happens, trust me, the lawyers and the insurance company, they will pick it apart. They'll be like, yeah, but what does that really mean? It almost sounds like you got to get the marketing out of your SLAs.
And here with the counterpoint on that is a fox. Fox, tell us, can you indeed watch the hen? No, we're not going to interview a fox. But I will say, we've all learned a new word today. Criticality is a word. We should spell it CRITICALITY. We should all try to incorporate that word into our vocabulary and use it 10 times over the next week, because that's a pretty cool word. It has something to do with nuclear fuel, too. I was trying to look up definitions for the word criticality. Rich, I didn't even know that was a word until today. Did you know that was a word?
I hadn't really thought about it, but it's certainly not a word I've used before.
Very cool. So, Corey, a lot of really great thoughts there. I don't know if I have a whole lot else to add or ask about it, but have you spent a lot of time like thinking about or thinking through like the parts that that you need to put in place to choose an MSSP before?
Yeah, you definitely you have to really look at your shortcomings, and this is where it comes back to is you as an MSP should be doing some tabletop exercises. You should be understanding. You should know the gaps from a security perspective. You should be constantly teaching your team how to identify an event versus an incident, right? How do they know, right? Because that may be an incident that they remediated, and you got a bigger problem at the end of the day. But also, when we start talking about the things we've talked about, like backup, disaster recovery, and other things, you also got to be able to expand and grow your team very, very quickly. Because truly, I don't care how big of an MSP you are or how small you are, you could probably handle one customer having a ransomware event. But could you technically handle half of your customers having one? So you need to have not only an MSSP, but you also need to have other MSPs out there that you build a relationship with to help you continue to serve your customers, but also to help you remediate and do those type of deals as well. So that's where that you're going to have to always be looking at that, because if you as an MSP get hit into an incident, your lead tech guy, your lead security guy, as well as the owner CEO will become unavailable. They will disappear because the lawyers, the forensics, the customers will take that guy and they want him right there or them right there all the time. So now, but you still got a whole business to run all your other customers that you got going on. So you really got to think about those and how those relationships can help you build that. Make sure you're monitoring, making sure that what are they responsible for, right? So are they that guy you saw those commercials with the ADP? Are they the guy who tells you, hey, somebody broke in your house? Or you want the guy that, hey, somebody broke in your house and I call the police, right? Which one do you want? You know, that's the kind of conversation you have. But, you know, if you're not asking for that, you may get the guy and says, hey, yeah, I saw that ransomware, but I didn't do anything about it. Right? I met my SLA. I told you, and my SLA didn't tell me that I needed to do anything about it. Right? So, but congratulations, you know, but congratulations, you know.
Always read the fine print, I guess. That's good advice on anything, as well as choosing the right MSSP. So lots of other really great insight, Corey. Thank you for sharing that with us. Lots of other good points in the story too. Rich kind of touched on a few of them, but there's a lot more here in this article that would behoove you to go to channelpronetwork.com and read. Again, you'll find the links in the show notes page, or open up your phone, open the description on YouTube. Links are everywhere. Go read it. Go and fill your brain with good knowledge. That's what we are here to do. So that's going to wrap up the top part of the show here, but we've got a lot more ahead. We have an awesome interview coming up with Corey's kindred spirit. Corey was our 2021 Peer of the Year award. We had a show on earlier in the year about when he got that. But we are going to meet the 2022 Channel Pro Peer of the Year award winner. We're going to be speaking with them just on the other side. Corey's going to join us for that. And we'll kind of reintroduce Corey a little bit as we set up that conversation. So stick around for that. We will be right back. And welcome back to part 2 here of this episode of Channel Pro Weekly. Each month during the calendar year, Channel Pro invites a successful MSP, value-added reseller, or solution provider to share his or her story in the peer-to-peer feature that runs in the digital and print issues of the Channel Pro magazine. The column provides actionable advice on topics such as growing a business, improving operations and service delivery, developing new lines of business, hiring, retention, building sales and marketing strategies, creating and nurturing corporate culture, and more. Now, all 12 stories in 2021 were considered for the Peer of the Year award, which is awarded by the Channel Pro editorial team and recognizes channel pros who've shared especially powerful peer-to-peer advice. In this interview segment, we're going to meet the Channel Pro Network Peer of the Year Award winner for 2022. And to take it from here, I'd like to welcome the person behind the peer-to-peer feature every month, Colleen Frye, managing editor here at the Channel Pro Network. Welcome, Colleen.
Hey, Matt. So happy to be able to join you today.
It's always a delight when we get you on the show to come and talk about a story or something that's going on. So welcome. Glad to have you here. For those who may not have caught you in a previous episode, tell us just a quick little bit about you and what you do here.
So I'm the managing editor here. I write, I edit, I work with our freelancers. And one of my favorite things to do is work with the peer-to-peer writers who are all the MSP business owners who are so gracious with their time and their expertise. And we help them shape their story for our readers.
Fantastic. And it is that time of the year where we've selected our Peer of the Year Award winner. And we actually have two of them on, not for 2022, but two on this particular interview segment. So why don't you tell us about that, Colleen?
All right. So this is the third year that Channel Pro will be awarding a Peer of the Year. And we started it because we had such great, content, and our MSP owners were so generous in sharing their insight with our readers that we thought, well, hey, they deserve an award. And so first, before I announce this year's winner, I'm going to keep you in suspense a little bit longer and want to thank and introduce last year's Peer of the Year, who was Corey Kirkendoll, who is the CEO of 5K Technical Services in Texas. And we were so grateful for having him with us all last year as our Peer of the Year winner. Corey, please say hello to the audience, and I'll let you do the handoff to our new winner.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. It's always great to be here. Colleen, you make us all look good when we write those things. So I was like, man, when I read mine last year, I was like, is that me? No, but yeah, thank you, Colleen, and the team, man. This is pretty cool. Man, last year becoming the Peer of the Year award, really is big for me because when I first started back in 2006, when you would go to conferences, a lot of MSPs wouldn't come together and share resources and share things, right? And now it's really becoming the community that I think we all had desired and wanted it to be. And so to be able to have some type of impact with a lot of other MSPs out there and to be able to share content back and do things, it was awesome. And to be recognized for that, it took it to a whole nother level. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I thank, all my peers as well as Channel Pro for that opportunity and to continue on. Once the Peer of the Year, always the Peer of the Year. That's what Joanna told me last year when she transitioned it off to me. And so it's really cool. Very, very cool.
Thank you, Corey. And now, without further ado, I am happy to introduce our 2022 Peer of the Year, Ole Thordeson, who is the founder and CEO of Alvaka Networks. Welcome, Oli. I know you've been on the podcast before, but for readers who may not know you, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm the founder and CEO of Alvaka Networks. We're best known, I think, as being an MSP for the last 20 years. I think we were one of the early pioneers in the space to help forge that business model. In the last couple of years, we have been forging a new space in the ecosystem around as a rapid response company to ransomware incidences. So we are one of the companies that you call if you get hit by ransomware. We're a go-to company, and we have teams of engineers that are all focused exclusively on bringing companies back from the depths of their despair when they get hit by ransomware and back into operation as soon as possible.
Great, thank you. Can we talk a little bit about the story you shared with the Channel Pro readers?
Yeah, that story was talked a little bit about how we are an MSP and how we had made investments into our network operations center, and we're unusual in that we are actually staffed with personnel 24 hours a day in California. So we don't offshore or outsource any of our NOC operations. That's entirely our own operation. And because it's truly staffed 24/7, I decided that we were uniquely positioned to take advantage of the 2 a.m. call that comes in from a ransomware victim to be able to respond quickly. And so from there, we springboarded into our rapid response business, which is largely what the story column is about how we At all hours of the day and night and holidays and weekends, we respond to ransomware victims and put forth our rapid response teams to do the work of recovering them.
Mhm. Now, I know you started Alvaka when you were still in college, and you founded it in '82. And the rapid response brand that you have been steadily building, I know that all got triggered because someone called you the 3Com guy.
Yeah.
Please tell our readers about that.
Yeah, boy, there's pivotal points in everybody's lives, and then also in our careers. And for me, one of the key pivots was around 20 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. I walked into what was then one of our larger clients. They had about 160 users, and we were trying to move upstream and more mid-market at the time. And I walked past the CFO's office, and he had a guest in there, and as I walked by, he said, "Hey, Oli, come here. I need you to come meet Jack." And he said, "Jack, I want you to meet Oli. He's our 3Com guy." And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm thinking, wow, I'm the 3Com guy. That's such a small part of what we do to keep this 160 user company going. It's a trucking company that delivers fuels. They have a couple hundred fuel trucks that go out every day and deliver fuel to fuel stations. And if the network isn't running at 4 a.m. when they're rolling those trucks, they're out of business. And I thought, wow, there's just so much we do. And he's calling me the 3Com guy. And at the time in the Los Angeles, Orange County area in Southern California, there were about 600 other companies you could call the 3Com guy. And I thought, wow, I don't have my own brand. And when I got home, or not home, but when I got back to the office that afternoon, I went to Albert, who managed our website at the time. I said, I want you to remove every reference to our vendors from the website, and we're going to focus exclusively on building the Alvaka brand. At this point forward, it's going to be about Alvaka, the Alvaka brand, and the things that we do for our clients. I don't want to ever be the 3Com guy again.
Right. Now, for those MSPs in our audience who are listening, give us a couple of practical steps on, how did you build that brand? What were some key things you did to build your brand?
A great question. We have what we call our works services, WORX services. So, we have Patchworks, we have Mailworks, we have DRWorks. DRWorks is disaster recovery works. Patchworks is a software patching service. Again, we're in the mid-market, so we're not doing the all-you-can-eat at the desktop for $250. We have what I think is commonly called, co-managed IT services. So we come into a mid-market enterprise and we're doing Patchworks, so we're providing patching services. And then we recently renamed the monitoring service to Odin 360. So we've taken our own products, our own service products, and branded them. They have their own logos. They have their own names that get used all the time. It's referenced in the contracts. If there are any third-party tools in there, it's all hidden under the covers. So it's all about our brands, the Alvaka brand and the various brands. And then our rapid response business is the NetSecure brand, all built around, so that's not a works brand, but it is our cybersecurity brand. So yeah, so that's what we've done. We've taken our products and branded them ourselves and created their own logos to create brand awareness and recognition for them.
And all your marketing material and outreach supports all that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Our marketing, our proposals will have the not only the company logo on it, but we'll oftentimes have brand logos on there as well. So yeah, we do some extensive, just like Windows. Microsoft has their own logo, but Windows has its own logo as well as some of the other products. So we basically, follow suit in that fashion.
Mm-hmm. And when you and I were talking about this and putting your story together, you also told me that you decided to focus on 3 uniques. Should other MSP business owners, if they want a brand, pick out 3 uniques? Yeah,
you got to find out what 3 unique things your company does, and each one of them doesn't have to be completely unique from your competition, but you got to have something that tells a different story. And for us, one of our uniques is our rapid response brand to ransomware. That's not something that a lot of companies do, especially at 2 a.m. on Christmas morning. And I can tell you, I've signed a contract at 2 a.m. on Christmas morning before.
Is your big milk and cookies out with it as well?
Yeah. So no cookies for me, unfortunately. But and then another thing that is unique for us that I mentioned early on is that we have a NOC here that's staffed by U.S.-based personnel. They're all Alvaka employees. They're in our building. They're down at the other end of the building from me. And I think it's unusual for a managed service provider to have U.S.-based personnel staffed 24/7. Truly, not on call. They're sitting in seats over there. So that's another one of our uniques that we that we put out there to clients. So and I'm also a big advocate of EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. We've been doing that for a few years now, and I got to tell you, I think we had a pretty good operation before that, but we've become even better. The cadence that it gets us on for managerial meetings and constant improvement of the company. And in our own branding sense, we don't call it EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. We rebranded it to AOS, the Alvaka Operating System. So, again, I like to brand everything around the company and build our own clear identity.
Mm-hmm. Now, like a lot of MSPs, you also told me you started out focusing mostly on small businesses, and you've worked your way up market to mid-size and larger enterprises. So what are some tips you can give our listeners on how, you told me that was a 10-year journey. What are some tips on making that journey?
Here's a key journey, and this is probably a key holdback. I love reading what people post on some of the different forums, MSP owner type forums, and you got to stop shopping and pricing with your own wallet if you want to get into the enterprise space. And one of our sales guys here, I remember when we were going after a larger account, and it was going to be like a $50,000 a month account. And he thought, oh, that's, that's a lot of money. Or, or we're recommending a refresh solution that's $600,000 or whatever. And his boss had to tell him, hey, stop shopping with your own wallet, right? $50,000 a month sounds like a staggering amount to you. And it is, if it's money getting, it's money he was spending every month or whatever. But to a company doing, $500 million a year in revenue, $50,000 a month for a set of co-managed IT services is not a big deal. So you got to get past your own wallet. Don't shop with your own wallet. You got to shop with the wallet that your client has. And for a company doing 500 million, they're probably, what's 2% of revenue on 500 million? That's got to be $10 million, right? If I did my math right. They got a $10 million budget just for IT. So $50,000 a month, $600,000 a year, not a big deal. So don't shop with your own wallet. I think that's getting past your own head trash to get into the mid-market is probably the biggest obstacle that I think most people face. The second thing is you then have to grow the maturity of your organization, the maturity level that you're allowed to show an SMB with 20 users versus a mid-enterprise that has 500 or 1,500 users is different. You better be more spit polished and have good contracts, professional level looking contracts, and speak with confidence and all that when you're dealing with the mid-enterprise. Also, you're talking to a much more sophisticated buyer. At that point, this check might ultimately get signed by the CFO, but you're probably dealing with an IT director who came up through the ranks and knows IT quite well. So you're not dealing with the owner of a 20-person company that just wants you to take care of stuff and they don't really care about the details.
Thanks. Well, I'm so thrilled that you're with us today, and it was great to work with you on this. And I now want to bring in Rich and Matt and Corey into the conversation, and you guys have some questions for Oli as well.
Yeah, I would love to talk a little bit about the NOC. Because I'm curious about a lot of things about that, but I mean, that's obviously a substantial investment, just kind of building it and then staffing it with U.S. personnel 24/7. How substantial an investment, I suppose, and how closely tied was the decision to do that to the decision to move upmarket into those mid-market businesses?
Yeah, boy, that's a good question, and you know what, the two are tied completely hand in hand. we go after the nonstop businesses, the businesses that are running 24/7 and they can't afford to be down overnight for an hour for whatever reason. It could be that they're a manufacturing company running 3 shifts, and if they don't make shipping deadlines to their client, we have clients that have $1 million a day penalties if they fail in their part of the supply chain to a major manufacturer. Others have online presences where they're selling products online, and others are just really, really sensitive to not having the embarrassment of any outages, even if they have a more 9-to-5 schedule. But so yeah, I had to make a commitment to hire and staff for hours where I didn't have enough work for guys at 2 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday. But I had made promises to 1 or 2 clients that we were going to be staffed 24/7. And the money that they paid every month was certainly not enough to pay for the overnights and the off shift, the off business hour shifts. And that took, a good, 2 or 3 years before that really started, paying off. And I had to suck it up until then, but it was a commitment that I was willing to make. So yeah, it's, and then there's of course the expense of buying all the tools, there's the professional service automation tools, there's all the monitoring and patch management tools, and we tend to be more of a best of breed shop rather than an integrated package solution. So we go out and buy best of breed in various segments and employ those. So there's some integration work involved. So those were commitments that we had to make ahead of time before making the promises to the market. As we made the promises to the market, to our clients, we had to make the commensurate expenditures on the back end to make all that happen and do the big Hail Mary that we could make revenue catch up with the expenses.
You said it's also a great sales tool as well. Talk about what it was like how you use that as a sales tool, like walking customers through that too. How has that made it easier to sell customers? Yeah,
our rapid response business has made us much more coast to coast in that we have clients with headquarters and decision makers in cities all over the country and even beyond now. But the MSP business back then, it's changing a little bit now, but we would sell generally within a 10 or 20 mile radius of our office. And fortunately in Southern California, I think Los Angeles County must have 9 or 10 million people, and there's 3.3 million people in Orange County. And the 2 counties, and you drive down the freeway, unless you know where the border is as you pass from one county to the next, you can't tell. It's just commerce and housing everywhere for dozens of miles in each direction. The metropolis is so big now, so big and flat. So anyway, we get the benefit of having a huge market area, and there's a lot of mid-size enterprise clients in the area. And we would position uniquely that we have a unique set of services that augments and extends the capabilities of their internal IT staff, and that for those reasons we're a good partner with them, and that we have the unique feature that we're staffed with all US-based personnel, which I think provides comfort from a security perspective for a lot of companies, especially the ones in compliance areas. And so as we court them and go through the sales process, we invite them to come down to our office. We have a beautiful office here. It's always very neat and clean. And we bring in the client, we sit down and talk with them a bit in the conference room, talk about their needs and how we can potentially resolve those. It's all about the client. And then we walk them through the office, and including walking them into the NOC. So they go through a biometric access room that has the NOC engineer sitting in there. We walk in, and in ChannelPro magazine and the online version, you can see a picture of me there. And in the background, we have the wall of monitors. So it's impressive when people walk in. There's a whole wall of monitors with all this data displayed around managing the infrastructure of other clients that are like the ones we're walking through there. And we talk to them about the services that we're going to deliver. We show them screens on the data analytics on how we track the service delivery to make sure that we're delivering on time and in a proper fashion. Sometimes we have them talk to a couple engineers so that they can see the engineers have a personality and that they're there to take care of them. It brings a little bit of personality to the whole experience. And then we talk about all the things that we do operationally to help make sure that that they are provided a consistent service in a secure manner from Alvaka networks.
Great.
Yeah.
Oli, talk about the hiring process, because you said it's not always easy to find, someone who wants to work in the middle of the night and the salaries. And I imagine even now with the, since the COVID-19 pandemic, it's even harder to find people.
Yeah, so we've actually had good luck hiring in 2021, and we're stepping up the pace in 2022. We expect to do double the hires in 2022. So we're growing rapidly. First off, to fill the night positions, there are some night owls out there. So you got to interview a lot of people. And every once in a while, you come across people that don't mind doing the various evening or weekend shifts. It fits into their lifestyle. But you got to interview a lot of people to get that. And as far as recruiting people, I hear time and time again that it's impossible to hire in today's market. And to some extent, there is a lot of truth to that. But you can decide that you're going to agree with that and succumb to it, or you can decide that you're going to resist the notion that you can't hire in today's market. And I've been giving out an admonition lately that for the most part, most MSPs and IT service providers are pretty busy and they're pretty booked up on their staff. That's why they're needing to hire, because they're booked up. And if they want to grow, they got to hire. And if that's you need to raise your rates. We raised our rates in October, this past October. And we're going to raise them again this coming October. And my admonition around that is you got to raise your rates so you can pay your people more. And if you don't pay your people more, they're going to get poached by somebody else who will appreciate them more. Now, compensation is not everything about a job. Work environment and the culture is very, very important. So people will stick around for that. But in an inflationary market, when it gets harder to buy groceries every week and put gas in the car to get to work that week, people need to start getting more money. And if they might like it, but at some point, economics are going to force them to go look around. And if there's a company like Alvaka that's paying a bit more, and then we package the job very sexily. If you go to our website and go to the careers tab, we make our jobs sound really sexy, and they are genuinely sexy. We do some exciting work around here, and we put that into the ad. And the ad is also written such that if you're a slacker, you're going to look at that and go, wow, these guys are really expecting a lot of outcomes from me. So the slackers don't apply, because we're talking about good bedside manners and getting stuff done on time above all else at all hours of the day. So people know what they're facing when they walk in the door. So we generally get very ambitious people applying. They're going to get paid real well. And so the opposite side of that admonition is if that you're too timid to make the rate increase and therefore you can't pay your people more. I see my friends in the business, they're losing key employees, and then they're trying to rehire at the same pay scale that they lost, that they were paying the guy that they lost. And they either can't fulfill the position with the right person at that pay scale, so it remains open, or they settle for somebody with less skill who will come to work for that amount of money, and the quality of their service delivery suffers, and it starts sending the whole company into a downward spiral in terms of customer dissatisfaction, possibly losing customers, disputed invoices. So really, now is the time to raise rates when we're all busy and we're all maxed out, and none of our customers complained at all. None of them even said anything when we raised our rates. Customers expect you to raise rates right now. The gas pumps are going up, an ear of corn in the market has gone up. Everything we do has gone up. They're expecting your rates to go up. So anyway, I think I probably went beyond the question that you asked, but that's something that I have a strong feeling about, so I had to throw it in.
Okay. Corey, did you have anything to add to that? I'm sure you have similar issues.
You know what, man? I feel like Oli just took us to church, and I agree 100% with what you're saying, and what you're seeing right now is exactly. But I think what's really key is that you're hitting on a point that has always gotten. You probably see it a lot of your peers and a lot of people that you work with as well. When you come from somewhere and you're on the technical side, what you're having right now is you're having a business conversation about growth and growing it away from that perspective. And this is 100% about growing the business, maintaining the culture, and understanding your employees and the value, right? And making sure that gets translated back out to the customer. That was awesome. I think that's where EOS and the other things that you've matured to be is where I would think that's that track that all MSPs should be going out. It's not about the bits and bytes because everybody has a tool or something that can do something, but what differentiates you is your process, your people, right? And where it goes from. I saw on your network, in Orange County, one of the best places to work, right? That's a big deal, especially what you just said of how the population is and kind of how it works. That means that people like working for you. Low turnover. I'm going to get the same guy. George has been my guy for the last 12 years because, Oli's taking care of him and he's going to take care of us. And that's what's really, really cool. And so hopefully that the peers that are out there understand that the peer of the year got some knowledge for you. Hope you're picking up on that, because even I'm picking up on that. I was writing over here like, yeah, that's what's up. That's the true gospel of the business of an MSP growth is where you are. And hiring, I think that you're 100% correct. If you're not taking care of your employees or whatever it is, we have mentors in our industry that tell you all the time that we should be taking employees from everybody else all the time, right? We should already know who our next hire is. So if we're under that and be naive that my guy, who's my top guy, is not being, he's on LinkedIn, he shows his certifications, he's been with me for 12 years, if he's still with me, there's some value there, right? He knows the tools, he knows the industry, he knows where it is, and he's just sitting there waiting to be plucked, right? I'm in the non-plucking business.
Yeah. You gotta protect, right?
Yeah, you do. And that comes down to culture, that comes down to what you've built. And hey, I applaud. That's awesome stuff, man. That's really good stuff.
Rich, you look like you wanted to jump in a couple minutes ago.
Well, actually, you the guys have asked exactly the questions I wanted to ask, but I did have one remaining. So, we were talking about brand and you're thinking about brand. And so, I would say you think about branding and marketing at a more sophisticated level, maybe, than a lot of channel pros do, which interests me because you also said that, now and again, the phone rings at 2 a.m. on a Sunday and somebody says, I've got ransomware, I need help, which somehow or another, you created the awareness out there that if you get ransomed at 2 a.m. on a Sunday, call Oli. So, what is the marketing strategy to get the word out that we have a rescue service in this situation? Call us anytime.
Yeah, we have a discipline to develop, to write content that is meaningful to the reader. And so with a lot of our marketing outreach really focused on the rapid response brand these days, you go to our website, you can look up ransomware rescue or ransomware recovery. We're going to rank fairly high on those terms, and to back that up, we have quite a budget we spend every month on pay-per-click. So we're not bashful about spending money to get our name put at the top and in front of people. But when the people land on our website and they land on those ransomware recovery pages, we have all the answers to all the questions that they have. They're panicked, they're in despair, they're afraid they're going to go out of business, and they probably will if they don't get that problem fixed. And we've got the answers. What does the timeline look like for a ransomware recovery? What does the process look like? If I pay the ransom, will I get my, get the encryption keys and get my data back? Should I call the FBI? All those questions are there and answered on the page in an honest manner. It's not a sales pitch. It's totally educational. And we can see sometimes, we were looking at a case, we got contacted yesterday, very large organization, thousands upon thousands of users, and they had spent nearly 3 hours on the website before they reached out and contacted us. And we have tools that tell me who's on the website. And I saw this morning, again, they were back on the website. So they're over there digesting what we've written because it's valuable content. So the SEO plays a big role. We do pay-per-click. We do Google remarketing ads. So for those that are listening to the podcast, if they go to our website, you're going to get hit relentlessly for 6 months from ads. When you go to CNN or YouTube or whatever, you're going to see Alvaka, ads pop up. We do constant contact emails. We do webinars, and we do all those things. And sometimes we get leads from direct marketing, but all of that really also reinforces our referral partner chain. We get a lot. In fact, the deal that came in yesterday where they spent nearly 3 hours on the website was a referral, but they spent 3 hours doing their due diligence on us. So the marketing backed up the referral, and our marketing also spurs the referrals. We look like we're committed in the go-to company in that space. So, these things, I want to tell listeners, this is not flash in the pan stuff. This is work that's years in the making. And it's really, really hard to go spend money and time when you don't see the returns. And when you don't see the returns, you either have to be patient and believe that it's going to continue, that it will work, because it will over time. But it will only work if you examine critically what you're doing and re-examine it and redo it and adjust over time, and then figure out, oh, we're getting a little bit better response doing it this way, than that way. And it's hard and it's expensive. And we had some earnings in some prior years that weren't as good as they could have been because we spent money on stuff that didn't work. I tell a lot of people, I have like 5 or 6 MBAs that I spend $250,000 on each, because I didn't go to a formal university to get the MBA, but I spent a lot of money and found out the wrong way to do things, right? Or as as I think it was Edison, said he didn't, fail 1,000 times, learning how to make the light bulb. He just learned something every experiment before he figured out how to make a light bulb really work. And that's kind of how marketing is. It's a long game.
Oli, what you're saying, Oli, what you're saying is awesome, because if we do the same thing on the products that we choose to build up what we call our stacks, right? It's no different, right? You put one in, you take it out, you put one in, and if it doesn't work, you don't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You go find, you improve upon it. And so what I learned a long time ago is, like, there's really no difference between what we do in marketing and how we educate our stack, right? And I don't throw an RMM and say, oh my gosh, it didn't run patches right, so I'm ripping it out and go to something else. You never succeed. And so I love what you're saying, and it is for the long game, but it also knows that you have shifted your mindset, and you're being a true CEO of your company. You're focusing on the business and not in the business. And that is so cool. That's what I do all the time, is focusing on the business and not in the business. It was tough. I'm a technical guy by trade, right? It was tough to let it go. It was tough to move out, but to be able to do the things we do today and to continue to employ and hire the right people and grow, to be able to pay the right people, I had to make that transition, right? And I wish I'd have done it before I lost all my hair, right? But I do now, so it's been great.
I don't know, Corey, that dome looks pretty good to me. So
I know it ran from here down to here.
I was going to say, you wear it well or you don't wear it well, whichever way you want to look at it. So so the last thing I want to come, unfortunately, we're almost out of time, Oli, but one of the things that I absolutely loved about your story and about your whole concept around branding, and that you didn't want to be labeled the 3Com guy anymore, is that you realized, and stop me if I get this wrong, but you realize that if you're going to grow and you're going to go upscale, you're going to go up market, you can't rely on vendor names, vendor branding to sell those customers. When you're small and you're going after small companies and you have no brand of your own, you have no other choice but to use the brands of others to sell your services. I'm going to use Microsoft tools. I'm going to use these big names that you've heard of to make you better. What you've done is you've almost turned yourself into a vendor by eliminating all that other stuff. And to the mid-market companies, I don't think they see you as an MSP per se. They see you as a vendor to provide these services for you.
Yeah, we don't even call ourselves. I identified ourselves as an MSP at the beginning of this podcast or this session here. But when we're talking to clients, we don't tell them we're an MSP, and there's a certain risk in that because if we say we're an MSP and we're talking to the CFO or their IT director, they're going to say, "Oh yeah, I know what an MSP. I've talked to a couple of you guys before. In fact, one of them sucked." So all of a sudden, our brand has now been shaped by their experiences created by others. So if we call ourselves something other than an MSP, then we get to tell our story, and they're going, "Oh yeah, that's a set of services that we need. That'll help our business. Yeah, can you send me a copy of your contract so I can take a look at what that looks like?" Right? So yeah, we get to tell our story. If we walk in and say we're an MSP, we've instantly been put in the cubbyhole of somebody else's story.
For sure. And that's important. And I think one of the keys to your growth. So it's a fascinating story. I really recommend everyone go and check it out on the website. We're going to put links to not only the Peer of the Year award story, but also to the original Building a Rapid Response brand story about you and what you've done. I think a lot of people would do very well to kind of take a look at the things that you've done, and will help them grow as well. And I have to ask one last question because I can't help myself. On Christmas Day, do you dress up as Santa Claus and go down to the knock and make everyone dress up as elves?
I am so glad that was after the Christmas Eve dinner, and I was still dressed up when I jumped on that call, because we did eventually switch to a video call like we're on now. And fortunately, I was still dressed up because otherwise I probably would have been in some pajamas or sweats or something.
So sign all those contracts in a red suit on Christmas Day with a pen, and I love it. Good stuff. So Ole, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us, and congratulations again on becoming the 2022 Peer of the Year award. And hopefully
I just want to say I'm so flattered. It was really an honor. I had no idea this was coming, and I got to tell you, it's gonna be one of the highlights of not only the year but for my life. To be recognized in this way. I really do love talking with my peers and helping. And I got to tell you, there have been so many lessons I've learned from my friends and other peers in the business that all of what I've done has really been on the shoulders of everybody else that has helped me along the way. And I couldn't have done it myself. So thank you, everybody else who's helped me along the way.
Well, very graciously said, and certainly well deserved as well. So thank you so much for being on. Ideally, we'll have you back on the show even sooner than next year, but next year when we pass the torch off to whoever takes it in the year 2023. My gosh, it sounds like I'm in a sci-fi movie. We're talking about years that I thought was 100 million years away when I was a kid. Awesome stuff. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Corey Kirkendoll will still be with us, hopefully on the other side, to have a little bit of fun and wrap up the show. Until then, we'll be right back. And we are back now with part 3 of ChannelPro Weekly. An amazing interview with Oli Thordarson and Corey Kirkendoll there. Just awesome stuff. Rich, any highlights or takeaways you want to talk about?
The thing that was kind of on my mind throughout that conversation, you go all the way back to the very, very first issue of ChannelPro, March 2007, and something that we did then, we've done all the way through is include that peer-to-peer column, which is ultimately where the Peer of the Year award came from, and it just goes right to the heart of what we have always kind of viewed as our mission. Which is just, the one thing that probably all of our readers have in common is that at some point in time, they walked away from a job that was probably paying pretty well and set up a business on their own, even though they'd never done that before. And they just had to figure a whole lot of things out on their own. And so, one of the things, really core things that we thought we could do is help these people out, help them be more successful at building and running an IT business for SMBs by connecting them to their peers. Off the air, Corey was kind of talking about how there was no Corey for Corey to go to, when you launched 5K, and it's a valuable thing to get that kind of insight from people who have been down the road before you. And so the people who contribute to the peer-to-peer column are taking time away from a very busy schedule to do that. and they share such great insights and knowledge with us and our readers, and we really, really appreciate it at Channel Pro. And it's just great that now we can do something a little bit extra to recognize one of those peers, the peer of the year every year too.
Absolutely. And Corey, any takeaways that you have?
This is awesome. You know, just to be a part of it, and then to get recognized for the contributions back from our peers, and hear the team and going down and having these open conversations. I mean, Rich has become a great friend. You as well, Matt. I see you all the time. You're the man in the back. I used to hear you. Now I know you, right? So it's awesome to do that. I think the only thing now you got to do is you got to come up with that Peer of the Year lapel pin or something that differentiates us out there, because that's what's really cool. I mean, between Joanna and now Oli, and now myself, and then now Oli, I mean, it's, you know, the bar is there, right? And what's great, I remember when Joanna passed it to me, and now I'm passing it to Oli. Very, very similar conversations. It sounded alike. You know, they say birds of a feather flock together, man. I guess we are just three peacocks that are in very different places. I think Oli's in California, and Joanna's in Chicago, and I'm in Dallas. But you wouldn't have known. You thought we were all right here together doing the same thing, because our mentality and what it is, it lines up perfectly.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing too is that, you know, if you look at the 3 Peer of the Year award winners too, it's not like you are all the same with the same size businesses and the same approaches. You all actually have very, very different approaches in some cases to your business, but it's all valuable and stuff that people can learn from, and been very, very successful for all of you. So, Rich, I like to say we've done 3. We've gotten it right every time. 3 for 3.
Yeah. You know what? And we didn't really kind of think of it in the sense of, you know, is this new selection in keeping? But we've picked 3 superstars. It's great.
We sure have, and it's awesome stuff. I guess if I had any takeaway from the interview, I've always wondered how Oli sees the world, not necessarily through his perception, but actually just literally seeing the world through those yellow glasses that he wears. Because for those who are just listening, Oli's known for these like yellow glasses that he has on, like the kind that you'd wear at the range, but he wears them all the time. So like he must just have a very, very different visual sense of his surroundings. Everything's very bright.
Yeah.
kind of crazy. But it works for him. So I guess that's pretty cool. All right, so we're gonna move on. We've the last few weeks we actually haven't had a lot of time to play any games at the end of the show, because we've had so much other great stuff to talk about. But we've got a few extra minutes, and Corey says he's got a few extra minutes, so we are going to run a game of 5 questions. For those who may not know what that is, for our new listeners who only caught the last couple shows, you should really go back and listen to some of the you got a huge archive of content. A lot of it, you could probably skip over some of the news that's gonna be old, but a lot of great interviews, a lot of other really good articles we've talked about in there, great discussions. If you need something to do in the car and you're like, I've got the next 700 hours to kill, go back and listen to the archive. It's all great stuff. So 5 questions is a game we play. Rich and I are going to go back and forth and fire off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions to Corey. I guarantee they will be off topic. I guarantee mine will be ridiculous. But just no gotchas, Corey, just to get to know you a little bit better and have a little bit of fun. Are you ready?
Ready.
He's ready. Rich, I will give question number 1 to you.
Okay. So you can only pick one. I mean, you could tell me you're fans of all 3 of these teams, but you can only pick one to be the most tied to, and that's the Cowboys, the Mavericks, and the Rangers. Is there a number 1, a favorite?
100% Cowboys, all day.
No hesitation.
Cowboy blue. That's it, man.
Yeah.
Big Cowboys fans. All right, I'll take question number 2, and I'll stay on the football genre here. So we're recording this right now. It's February 3rd, and we've got the Super Bowl is a few weeks away, less than a few weeks away. We got the Bengals, and we've got the remind me who I even watched the game. It was the Bengals and the Rams. Yeah, sorry, I even watched half that game. I'm not a big football guy, but we watched like half that game. So we got the Bengals and the Rams. Corey Kirkendoll's Super Bowl pick and why.
Oof, man, so that's a tough one. I'd love to see the Rams because I like the underdog, man. I love, I would love to see Odell Beckham and the guys out there and Matthew Stafford go out there and win it. And Sean McVay, man, is just a football genius. And then I'm torn because Joe Burrow, from his injury last year, coming in, bringing a thing that haven't been to the Super Bowl in 30 years and have his teammate, out there, Chase out there. I mean, I always want a good game. But regardless of a good game, man, I just want to ensure that my smoked pork butt come out great so I can put it on some nachos and some things. Just want a good game. That's all I care about.
Very cool. Rich, who's your pick?
So this is a little easier for me. So I'm in Seattle. I'm a huge Seahawks fan. The Rams are a division rival, not a hated division rival, but a rival. I am all about the Bengals.
I hope a football team wins. I tend to do my Super Bowl picks more by geography. So whichever team is geographically closer to me is the team I root for. Mm-hmm. Or I just root for whichever team is down in the fourth quarter just because I want to see an exciting game when I do watch the Super Bowl. So right now I'm all Bengals, but I might switch to the Rams if they're down by 6 with 2 minutes left in the fourth because I like to see a big comeback victory. But otherwise, go sports. How about that? Rich, question number 3 to you.
So this just popped into my head here, and it's like I know channel pros in the Dallas area. I've never actually asked them this before. I should have, and because it comes up for me all the time. Ordinarily I travel a lot for Channel Pro, which means I'm flying into Dallas pretty regularly, and I always go through the thing where do I, if all other things being equal, do I want to go into Love or do I want to go into DFW? Walk me through the thinking on that so that I kind of know which one should be the preferred option going forward.
Yeah. So if you want to connect to everywhere and never get a direct flight, go to Love. If you want a direct flight in and get in and get out, go to DFW. 100%. That's the deal.
All about the direct flights. All right. Question number 4 to me. I'm gonna stay. I'm on a Super Bowl kick, and I don't know why. I'm not a big football guy, but it seems like a fun topic. So, top 3 Super Bowl snacks. Go.
Man, so I love chicken wings. I love nachos, and I would say a good slider.
Ooh, sliders. The other 2 are classic. The slider's not so common in a Super Bowl spread. That's a good one. I like this. Like, are you thinking like White Castle style or like your own kind of?
Yeah, own kind of style, man. Just a nice small patty on a nice Hawaiian roll with cheese and kind of throw it on there, man. It's pretty cool just to do that piece out. Something different.
I like it. I like it a lot. That sounds really good. Actually, now I want sliders. Rich, what's your favorite snacks?
The word that immediately went into my head, which Corey used too, was nachos.
Yeah, you gotta love the nachos. I love salty, horrible junk food, which is probably what's gonna end up killing me someday. But I only see it at Super Bowls. It seems like Super Bowl parties. It's like this cheese dip that has like chili in it. You know what I'm talking about? When you dip like the tortilla chips in it. That's probably like going to cause a coronary for me someday, but it's so delicious. That's probably one of my favorites. I always end up being around the cheese dip, but you got so and Corey, wings, like hot, mild, spicy. What's your sauce?
You know what? I'm not a dry wing guy, so I like garlic parm. I like wedge wings and a nice medium. I don't like it too hot. That with some ranch, I'm good to go.
Fantastic. Oh, sounds so good. I'm already getting hungry and looking forward to Super Bowl snacks. All right, Rich, over to you for question number 5. 5B, I guess, because I asked 2, but whatever.
Yeah. Once upon a time, I can't remember who it was. Well, I do remember who it was, but I asked a guest host once upon a time, what was your first car? Maybe what I'll ask you is what of all the cars you have maybe owned in your life, what is your favorite car?
Yeah, man, I used to have a 1990 92 Nissan Sentra. And I remember that because I don't know if you remember those commercials when those new Sentra models came out and they had a guy that was just driving through the Taylor's house. It says Bob, right? Everybody wanted to be like Bob. He had the little black Nissan Sentra. And so eventually I got one and I was like Bob, man. That's what it was. That was my favorite car.
Awesome stuff. Well, always fun learning a little bit about our guests, and big thanks to you, Corey, for playing along with us. Very, very cool stuff. So Rich, we won't say goodbye quite yet, but why don't you tell us what we might have missed and what might be coming up down the road?
Well, a great place to find out about stuff that folks in our audience might have missed is our In Case You Missed It post, which appears on channelpronetwork.com every Friday. It is written by our own James Gaskin. This week, he'll have a few words for you about Citrix going private, which was kind of a big story this week. There are some new projectors in the Lumen line from Epson that came out this week. Intel has kind of expanded its bug bounty program, which is interesting. And then James is going to have a little bit for you about somebody who paid what I thought was a ridiculous amount of money for a sort of vintage copy of the Madden football computer game, but apparently vintage computer games have sold for even larger amounts than this. He'll have the details for you. Now, looking ahead to next week, not a whole ton going on the event front. There would have been events next week. A lot of the events that were originally scheduled for February have been moved back to June for all the obvious reasons. There is some news coming, most of which I can't really talk about, but I can say at least this much, that on Monday, Dell will be revealing plans for its partner program in the year ahead. And so I'm sure anyone who partners with Dell now will be interested to know what they have coming up. You will find all the details on that. I'm going to have an article for you there on channelpronetwork.com on Monday morning.
Fantastic stuff. Well, that is going to do it for episode 213. Go and find your vintage copy of Madden, I guess, or you just go to your local half-price books outlet. Usually that you can find tons of old sports games there for 25 cents because that's where old sports games go to die. But I guess there's another level of vintage beyond what you can find at your local used game store. But anyway, yeah, so that's going to wrap up episode 213. Big thanks to Ole Thordeson for coming on for an interview, and an awesome job to Corey Kirkendoll for coming on and being our guest host. A big thanks to you, sir. For those who want to learn more about you, connect with you, learn more about 5K, where can they go? How can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn or reach out to me at 5ktech.com. I'm looking forward to chatting and welcome. Guys, thank you for the opportunity and the time. You guys have a great day.
You too. Always great having you on. And of course, we'll have you on again soon, assuming you had fun. Did you have fun?
I had a lot of fun, man. Always.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. And that's going to do it for 213. So please go to channelpronetwork.com each and every day. That's where you'll find the latest news, white papers, resources, downloads, articles, all kinds of great stuff to not only keep you on top of what's going on in the industry, but also to help you grow your business and make more money, which is, I know what you want to do, because that's the whole point. That's why you're listening to this, is to make more money, learn stuff, and have fun, right? That's the claim to fame. Subscribe to the ChannelPro Weekly podcast, wherever podcasts are found. We're on Apple, we're on Google, we're on Spotify and Stitcher, and there's a million of them. Go pick your poison and go subscribe. And of course, if you're on YouTube and you like to watch, hit the subscribe button and the bell and whatever else they make you do to subscribe to stuff now. And then hit like the video, leave a comment, and of course, tell a coworker, friend, or family member or pet about ChannelPro Weekly and help us get to more ears and eyes. We really, really appreciate it. And with that, we will bid you all adieu. We'll see you in episode 214 next week. Take care.